following program is sponsored. The opinions and statements made by the hosts and guests do not necessarily reflect the views of WBOB or its parent company, the Chesapeake Portsmouth Broadcasting Corporation.
WBOB 94.1 The Answer is proud to present Tula's Tips for Caregivers. Help is on the air with Tula Wooten, your source to go for resources and information to help you in this rewarding but sometimes challenging role. Tula's Tips for Caregivers is brought to you by Agewell Institute at Baptist Health, by Elmcroft Assisted Living and Memory Care, by Apex Home Health Care, by the AARP, and by Bartram Lakes Brooks Assisted Living. To participate in today's show, call 904-222-TALK. That's 904-222-8255. Now here's Tula.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Tula's Tips for Caregivers. I am so delighted to be here with you again this Saturday morning in Northeast Florida. And for those of you who are streaming, listening on live, on radio live, anywhere in the world, I thank you for tuning in. For those of you who might be listening for the first time, my name is Tula Wooten, and I've been doing this radio show live for caregivers. Those of you who are taking care of a loved one. So many of you have been doing this for such a long time and struggling and sometimes just don't know where to turn for help. And so that's why I'm here every Saturday morning. If you're listening today and you're a caregiver, I encourage you to call in. The producer gave the number. It is 904-222-8255. Enough about me. I'm excited about my guest today. My guest for the first segment of today's show is going to be Lee Woodruff, who is a New York Times best-selling author and journalist, contributing writer for CBS This Morning. She also runs her own media and speaker presentation building business, teaching others how to do great presentations. And for those of you who don't know, she is the wife of the ABC News anchor Bob Woodruff, who was injured in Iraq in January 2006 while riding in a Humvee. And I'll let her tell what happened because it's a very compelling story. I just finished reading her book, In an Instant. And in an instant, her world changed. So welcome, Lee, to Tula's Tips for Caregivers.
I'm so excited to be here today, and I'm going to be so excited to meet you all next weekend. So thanks for having me on.
I am so excited that you're coming next Saturday to be the keynote speaker for the Caregiver Expo. This is our 5th annual one, Lee. And, you're going to be the first speaker that we will have who is going to be talking about caring for a loved one at a younger age. Most of the keynotes that we've had take care of older people like our parents, like I do. But, this is such a compelling story. When I read about you online and read about and remembered all that happened to Bob and then read your book, I just thought, okay, this is the right person. So, for our listeners, Lee, who might not remember because it was 10 years ago, could you give a brief recap of what happened to Bob in January 2006?
Absolutely. Well, you're right. Our lives were going along. I was in my mid-40s, and Bob had just been named the co-anchor of World News Tonight after Peter Jennings' untimely death from lung cancer. So he was the ABC anchor. He was there 6 weeks into the job, and he was sent to Iraq, where he had been numerous times. He had reported in war zones for about 10 years. But what happened, his number came up, like so many of our servicemen and women, and a roadside bomb exploded while he was half out of the tank reporting. And he received a very severe brain injury as well as other wounds. And it really looked for the first, 48 hours or so that he would not make it. So I flew to Germany, where they had flown him for a second surgery after Iraq, and then he was in a coma for 5 weeks in Bethesda Naval Hospital in Washington. So I really just stepped out of my life to go care for him, and I had 4 young children at the time.
I remember in the book, one of the things that struck me is you talked about you were in Disney World with your 4 children when you got that very horrific call about what had happened to Bob, and you thought, oh, here I am in, quote, the happiest place on earth.
Yes, I was not far from where you sit right now, and it was so out of, the realm of possibility to be in a place with your kids and having fun and being on a, sort of vacation, and then to get a call like that. It was just completely, it spun me into a completely different place, and there's so many things going on at that time when you get a phone call like that. So many caregivers are, it's either been what I call a slow burn with maybe an injury or an illness. It starts with a diagnosis. And then, unfortunately, for some as well, there's that call that comes out of the blue from something that happens with a drunk driver or whatever it might be. It all ends up in the same place, but I think for those who have to deal with the life was going along and I'm just getting groceries and boom, phone calls, you have the additional initial part of caregiving that's just dealing with the shock of it. So you just sort of, processing that at first, which is really tough when you need to be making decisions and taking care of other family members. It's hard.
Okay. For some reason, I'm having a hard time hearing you on my connection here. I'm sorry. Would you repeat what you just said?
Yeah, I said that. Can you hear me okay now?
I can. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, I'm on a landline, so we should be okay. In addition, many caregivers, everything I think is a shock, but sometimes in a more slow-burning caregiving issue, maybe it's a disease or an illness that begins ramping up, you have time to sort of process it. But for those caregivers who... Can you hear me okay?
I can now, yes. Thank you.
Okay. For those caregivers who get a call out of the dark, and so life is going along and you're a mom and you've got young children or what have you, and you get that phone call, that a drunk driver has hit your loved one, I think you spend those initial, it's such a hard position to be in because not only do you have to make decisions about your loved one's care, you're just processing the shock that this has happened.
In an instant, yes. You became a caregiver. I have a friend who says you have 9 months to prepare to have a baby, and then usually about 9 seconds to prepare to be a caregiver, and I'm sure it must have felt like that for you.
Well, that's a great phrase, and absolutely, that's well said.
You flew to Germany, you were with him until he was stabilized and flew back to the United States. And then, as you mentioned, he was here in a coma for about 5 weeks, day in and day out. You went to the hospital to watch him, to pray for him, to take care of him, to make sure his care was good. What was it that gave you the strength to make it day to day as you cared for him?
Well, one of the things that I'll be talking to you all about next weekend is what I call the 4 F's in my life, and I think most caregivers would probably agree or have their own version of that. And for me, the 4 F's were certainly family above all else. I could not have done it without my 2 sisters and Bob's 3 brothers, one of whom was with us at all times. So they had sort of the back end at home with the second F, which is friends. So I think, as everyone knows here, and Tula, you and I have talked about this, that friends come together in a community and do incredible things for one another, whether it's walking the dog, giving kids a ride, bringing the meal over. And so all of those 2 F's, the friends and family, were sort of the webbing, the basket that knitted itself together that could hold my kids together while I was taking care of Bob. And then the 3rd F is faith for me. And I always say to people, it doesn't matter what what your religion is. I think we're all ultimately probably talking about the same thing. But just to believe in something bigger than you is so powerful. Just to know that some things happen, that miracles can happen, and there aren't explanations for things, but that you need to be able to have hope. And as a caregiver, those healthcare professionals and others need to be able to keep the door open for hope for you so that you can keep moving forward. And then the last F that I talk a lot about is funny. And I think you need to keep your sense of humor. You laugh at the most inappropriate things. You reach down and try to laugh because it releases good things, even in your darkest moments.
The funny, being able to laugh even in the darkest moments, even releases endorphins that make you feel better, that help you get through the crisis moments. And you did such a great job of doing that in your book. You're listening to Tula's Tips for Caregivers on 94.1 FM The Answer. My guest today is Lee Woodruff. Please stay tuned. We've got some great stuff to come. We'll be right back.
Have you noticed that mom or dad seems to be slipping a bit? Forgetting appointments, skipping meals, repeating stories? You know they're not ready for a nursing home, yet they could benefit from some kind of help. Brooks Rehabilitation invites you to redefine assisted living at Bartram Lakes. Bartram Lakes Assisted Living offers care and services for adults who value choice and independence, yet benefit from 24/7 support. Our residents embrace life, develop friendships, and live life to its fullest. Our residents' families benefit from having peace of mind, knowing that Brooks Rehabilitation, a trusted name in Jacksonville healthcare for 40 years, is overseeing their loved ones' care. Come and visit Bartram Lakes Assisted Living. To schedule a tour, call 904-528-3515. That's 904-528-3515. Or visit www.bartramlakes.org.
Have you read the new book, Love Stories and Timeless Tips yet? It's by our own Tula Wooten with Tula's Tips for Caregivers. Tula is a caregiver, too, as well as an expert on caregiving. You can get it in paperback or on Kindle at Amazon.com. The book is filled with touching stories of caregivers taking care of their loved ones. Each chapter has helpful ideas that we all can use. I love that Tula included a Tula's tip with each story. Her message to caregivers is clear. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of your loved one. This is a beautiful book for all caregivers to read, whether you're a part-time, full-time, or long-distance caregiver, or someone receiving care. You should get the book today. Just go to Amazon.com. Search for Love Stories and Timeless Tips by Tula Wooten.
George, I got the job. Thanks, I'm so excited. They hired me on the spot right after the interview. It was that book I bought from Amazon, From the Interview to the Paycheck by Fred Haley. The book really taught me something. It helped me to think about what the boss wants. Then it helped me with answers that show that I can do the job. I can tell they were impressed when I introduced myself. I just followed the simple outline from the Interview to the Paycheck book, and I know I won the job with my first 90 days plan the book recommended. They said no one else had ever been so prepared. You should get the book. It's on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle. It's worth it if you want to get hired. Just search for From the Interview to the Paycheck by Fred Haley. Do it now.
Hi, this is Tula. If the loved one that you're caring for has recently experienced any falls or had medication changes, maybe they've been hospitalized in the last 3 to 6 months, some new medical condition that's been diagnosed by the doctor, or just an overall change in their healthcare status, or difficulty in walking or bathing or eating, it's time to call Apex Home Healthcare Services. They can help you with all of the above. The number is 904-425-4202. That's 904-425-4202. Hi, this is Tula, and I'm here to talk to you about Baptist's new Age Well Institute. Are you caring for a loved one who's 65 or older? Are you a boomer like myself who's caring for a parent? And perhaps your parent has been experiencing some decline in their overall health. Let me highly recommend to you the Baptist Age Well Institute. They have the only real geriatrician here in Northeast Florida who is able to look at the whole person. Their comprehensive approach includes a nurse, a doctor, a social worker, a pharmacist, a dietitian. They have their own physical therapy there. They can work with folks with memory disorders. My goal is to help you, the caregiver, find an organization that can care for your loved one who's 65 or older. I take my own parents there, and I highly recommend the Age Well Institute at Baptist. Please give them a call at 904-202-4243. Again, that's 904-202-4243. You'll be so glad you did.
And now let's return to Tula's Tips for Caregivers, brought to you in part by Age Well Institute at Baptist Health, by Elmcroft Assisted Living and Memory Care, by Apex Home Healthcare, by the AARP, and by Bartram Lakes Brooks Assisted Living. Once again, here's Tula.
Well, welcome back, everyone. If you've just joined me, my guest today for the first half of the show is Lee Woodruff. She is the wife of the ABC News anchor Bob Woodruff, who was injured in a roadside bomb in Iraq while covering the war. And we've been talking a little bit about her experience in taking care of him. She just talked a little bit about what gave her strength. And Lee, I love that you focused on the 4 F's: family, friends, faith, and the funny, because that is what we all need to rely on during really difficult times in our life, no matter what the difficult time is, to be able to get through.
I was speaking somewhere last week, and I heard the greatest story that I want to share with everyone. And I think it also is helpful as a caregiver and for those out there who are caring for caregivers, who are in the healthcare field or therapy. And I don't know the particulars of this story, but it was a physician who told me this, that there were there was a study done about healing and just wellness and getting people better, and I think it was in a traumatic brain injury ward, and there were 2 different floors, and one of the floors had just a better heal rate than the other. There was just a better, however one measures that, getting out of the hospital faster. It was the same care team on both floors, and so they went through a study to determine what was the factor that was making people on one floor heal and recover better and faster than the other floor. They could not figure it out. So at one point, somebody physically went to the floors and spent time on them. And what they realized was that the only difference between those 2 floors was the cleaning lady. And the cleaning lady, who walked in every room and just had some kindness and told people that she was praying for them and talked to them with her cheery voice and asked how they were doing and spent that time with them. That intersection of kindness and humanity with the people in those rooms made the difference physically in how they recovered. Now, nobody I know who's a caregiver is going to be surprised at that story, but it's just a reminder to everyone out there how, and I say this all the time, how that small moment where you intersect with someone and you ask how their day is going when they're the caregiver can change their day.
That is a wonderful story, and I hope that cleaning lady was told the results of that study so that she could, revel in that a little bit, because a little bit of kindness goes such a long way. And, let's look at the caregivers. Sometimes they're not asked about how they're doing. Sometimes the question is always about their loved one that they're taking care of, and behind the shadows is that caregiver sometimes just really struggling emotionally and physically, and they're depleted at every level, and they need to have someone reach out to them and say, how are you? How are you coping? What's making you be able to do all this?
Absolutely. And I remember that moment for myself, and I think I was sharing this with you earlier, that when I was coming to visit Bob in his inpatient therapy, and I was just sort of out of gas, and we'll talk about that next weekend, just when how the caregiver needs to get their adrenaline. But I remember one of Bob's therapists pulled me in their office and said, and I thought, what is he doing now? Is he not recovering? What's going wrong? And she just looked at me and she said, has anyone asked you how you're doing today? Yeah. And boy, that was a whole box of Kleenex later.
Yeah. I believe that, because you had so much pent up during that time as you were trying to put on that brave face. You became the general, as you put it, put on the brave face and just did what you needed to do to make sure that everything got done so that Bob got the best care possible. You orchestrated things for your family to make sure your kids were being taken care of. But who was taking care of you?
Well, and I know that's going to be one of the focuses of next weekend as well at the conference, because that really is the critical thing. And we're focusing more on the caregiver than ever before, but I think we still often find ourselves at sea as caregivers. There isn't enough connectivity.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I encourage, Lee. I'm the one who actually created this Caregiver Coalition of Northeast Florida, and I did it in an effort to connect caregivers together because, again, they need to support each other. I encourage caregivers to find a caregiver buddy, somebody who's going through something similar to what you're going through, so you can support each other, commiserate if you need to, laugh when you can, to help you get through the experience. And we are just so delighted that you're going to come next week and talk about your experience from start to finish and taking care of Bob. And, again, for those of you who don't know, a traumatic brain injury is something that so many of our returning heroes from our most recent conflicts have sadly had to endure. And many times that is coupled with PTSD. And coming home and having to cope with that, the caregiver often just doesn't know where to start. And, I want you to talk a little bit, Lee, about the wonderful foundation that you and Bob have started as a result of what he went through. You have a heart now for all of our returning veterans and those. I just go into that because that's
sorry.
so wonderful. You go into it. It's such a wonderful thing.
I cut you right off. I got so excited.
It's okay. It's all right.
But, we were in the hospital and we had every thing that Bob needed, because he was a private civilian, and Bob's company came in. He was injured on the job, as are our veterans, by the way.
Yeah.
But Bob was, through ABC and Disney, was given every opportunity for all the way through rehabilitation. But when we looked at some of the other rooms around us in the military hospital, we saw young soldiers without even family members by the bedside, because we don't have the budget in the military to fly the wife and the kids and all of that. Nor, many times, do these families have the resources to be able to leave a job for weeks on end, because this isn't a simple broken bone. This is a very long heal.
Right.
And so mom can't leave her job at, Walmart or Kmart or wherever and leave 3 little children. So we said that if Bob recovered and we got to a place, we needed to use our story to do something to shed light on the veterans. And 10 years ago, we created the Bob Woodruff Foundation. And I always laugh when I say this, just out of dumb luck, because we didn't have any particular expertise. We didn't know how to build homes for homeless people or what needed to go in a backpack to send overseas. We decided that because we did so much traveling as journalists and speakers, and we met so many people in towns and communities around the country who were doing things to help veterans, we would raise money, use our story to do so, and then vet those great organizations around the country that were really doing the boots on the ground work, and we would give them grants to continue doing what they were doing. So in the 13 years that the wars have raged on, the needs of the troops have really changed as we've drawn down and as people have faced challenges back on the home front. So we're able to move the spigot very quickly to where the needs are, because we're not a bricks and mortar operation. We're channeling funds to the people that need it most.
That is so wonderful that you could take this horrific experience that you went through and become an advocate for those who are in similar experiences and make sure that those troops come home and get the care that they need and are enabled to transition back into our very challenging world these days.
It is tough, and these veterans are so proud and humble and wonderful, and they're not standing out there saying, I'm a veteran, I served, I need this. They go back to their communities, and oftentimes they don't think of themselves as veterans first. They're fathers, their spouses, their sons, and somewhere down the line is, oh yeah, by the way, I served. And they're just the most incredible people. I did not have a lot of exposure to military families prior to Bob's injury, and I feel like that was one of the amazing gifts of the bad thing that happened.
It is such a wonderful thing to be around those who are serving or have served our country. I don't have that in my family background, but through some work that I've done in my role at Community Hospice and the Caregiver Coalition, I have had both the pleasure and distinct honor to be around so many veterans, and you just learn so much from them. I am hoping that next Saturday when you speak, you'll talk a little bit about your foundation and the work that you do for veterans.
I will love doing that. Thank you.
Lee, if you could just give a little teaser, if you will, to my listening audience to make sure that they come next Saturday to hear you speak, what would that be?
I hope that with my words of wisdom, and you all have yours as well, so I hope to hear some of your stories, but I hope to share with you all what has worked for me. And I've learned a lot of that through listening to fellow caregivers for the last 10 years. So I hope to leave you with some tips, because I think one of the most important things is to walk away with something you can use when things seem dark. And just some of the tools that I've learned over time help me at that 3:30 in the morning moment when you're having a hard time catching your breath. And I think many of you know what that feels like.
We do. And Lee, I thank you for being on my show today. I thank you for being our keynote next Saturday. Again, we're also excited that you're coming. The tips that you're going to offer those who are currently serving, currently caring for a loved one, I know will be invaluable. It's been a pleasure to have you this first segment of the show. Thank you again. And
I can't wait to see you next week.
I can't wait to meet you. We've got a lot to talk about. We have more in common than you realize, but we will do that when we get together. The next segment of my show is going to feature two of my really good friends, Danielle McGrath and Danielle Porter from Brooks Bartram Lakes. Danielle Porter is a music therapist, and we're going to have some music on the second half of the show. So stay tuned, everyone. We'll be right back.
Hewitt, Laura Ingram, Dennis Prager, The Savage Nation, Mark Levin, WBOB 94.1 and AM 600. The Answer.
With SRN News, I'm Bob Agnew in Washington. Tragedy strikes about 90 miles southeast of Dallas, Texas today, as floodwaters have destroyed the home of a woman and 4 of her grandchildren, sweeping them away to their deaths. Officials say numerous other structures were destroyed. Those are the only deaths they're aware of in Palestine, Texas today. They are searching for more possible victims. The second funeral for a victim of the shooting massacre in rural Ohio is set for today. The service for 20-year-old Hannah Gilley is being held in Otway, Ohio. She's one of 8 people found murdered just over a week ago at 4 homes in a rural county about 85 miles south of Columbus. Investigators remain tight-lipped about any suspects or a possible motive in the murder of the 8 who were all members of the same family. Iraqi forces tightening security in Baghdad. That's after anti-government demonstrators breached the green zone for the first time and stormed Parliament. This is SRN News.
Caregiving is a journey filled with love, challenges, and self-discovery. I'm Lee Woodruff, New York Times bestselling author and CBS This Morning contributor. And as a wife, mother, daughter, and a caregiver, I've walked the path of caring for loved ones and being unsure of where to turn for help. So if you're looking for resources, encouragement, and a little bit of pampering, join me at the 2016 Caregiver Expo.
The 2016 Caregiver Expo is Saturday, May 7th at the Hyatt Riverfront, 904-407-6790.
The funeral home and cremation service of the future is here. Lampkins Patterson Cremation and Funeral Service is open on the Arlington Expressway. Come see the most modern state-of-the-art facility in Jacksonville with chapel or auditorium, reception and greeting area. Their one-of-a-kind concierge service provides the family with airport pickup, lawn service, dry cleaning, even home repair and vacation planning. Take advantage of the business center with free fax, computers, notary, and copies. Best prices, best services, best facility, best choice for all cremation and funeral needs. Lampkins Patterson Cremation and Funeral Service, Arlington Expressway near Arlington Road, honoring your loved one and offering incredible service to the family and friends. Call for a visit at 503-9593, 503-9593. Lampkins Patterson Cremation and Full Service Funeral Home. The future is here for all your funeral needs.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for $35,000. You heard right, that's 5,000 square feet for $35,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100-foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait. So call
800-965-1293. 800-965-1293. 800-965-1293.
How long will it take to get where you're going? WBOB 94.1 has the answer.
As you crash Clay County at County Road 220 eastbound at Town Center Boulevard in Orange Park. And watch out for the service vehicles fighting a fire at 1400 block of West 5th Street over there at Barnett Street here in Jacksonville. Mostly sunny today, looking for high 89, a little bit of rain tonight, low 71, partly cloudy. It's currently 80 degrees at WBOB 94.1, The Answer.
And now let's return to Tula's Tips for Caregivers, brought to you in part by Age Well Institute at Baptist Health, by Elmcroft Assisted Living and Memory Care, by Apex Home Health Care, by the AARP, and by Bartram Lakes Brooks Assisted Living. Once again, here's Tula.
Well, welcome back, everyone. I'm so delighted you're here with me today. My first guest, Lee Woodruff, did a great job talking about her story and taking care of her husband after a bad injury in Iraq. And we're going to kind of move it forward, get a little bit lighter for the second half of this show. My two guests are Danielle McGrath and Danielle Porter. I have two Danielles in the studio today from Brooks, Bartram Lakes. Welcome, ladies.
Thank you, Tula.
I'm so glad you guys are here, and we're going to talk about something that is near and dear to my heart because I love music. And Brooks now has a music therapist. That's you, Danielle Porter, my two Danielles. Danielle, I want to ask you, everybody knows about music. Music is an important part of so many of our lives. But how is music therapy different than just entertainment?
That's a great question. And a lot of patients and clients and families, when they first see me, they often think, oh, great, you're going to serenade me. And I'm like, surprise, I'm not. But it's still going to be great fun. The biggest difference between music therapy and music entertainment is that music therapy is an interactive process, and we're working on functional goals and using the music to achieve those goals.
So how does music achieve a goal? Let's talk about a functional goal of maybe speaking. If you've had a stroke and speaking's now hard for you, how does music help with that?
Great question. So when I'm working with a client who's had a stroke, sometimes I use an intervention often known as lyric completion or musical speech stimulation. And what I'll do is I'll pick a song that is well known to the client, and then I will sing the first couple of lines, and I'm happy to demonstrate real quick. And if Danielle and Tula, if you want to join in, you can. But I'll encourage the client to complete the last word at the end of the phrase. Okay, so I promise I'll pick a song you guys know, okay?
Okay.
And I'll use my hand to cue you when I want your help.
Okay, sounds like a deal.
You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are gray. You'll never know, dear, how much I love you. Please don't take my sunshine
away.
Very good. Yes.
I just sang on the radio, Tula.
This is my first time singing on the radio, too, after all these years. I loved it. Let's do it again.
Sounds good. Here we go. You are my
sunshine, my only sunshine.
You make me happy when skies are
gray.
Yes. You'll never know,
dear,
how much I love
you.
Good. Please don't take my sunshine
away.
Yes, perfect.
I can see how that would really help cognition and speech. That's a wonderful example.
Yeah, music is just this wonderful, magical type of stimulus. And with our clients who have had a stroke and their language is affected on the left side, sometimes we can use music to kind of get around that blockage on the left side and access the right side and allow them and help them to speak through music.
That's really awesome. It's helping them regain function of absolutely necessary things that you have to have every day, but it's also healing their soul. Talk a little bit about that. Music touches all of us.
Yeah, it crosses
place.
all boundaries, all cultures, and it's just a comforting source for many individuals. And that's why so many of my clients are willing to participate in therapy and are motivated by it.
And I couldn't agree more. I think arts and recovery is certainly a goal that Brooks Rehabilitation embraces. Music is a strong language that really
crosses
everybody and touches their lives. They can relate, and they hold on to it. We see that with our seniors. Mm-hmm. Seniors, similar to a stroke, those with dementia also retain their rhythm, and they retain their ability to remember songs more so than they can find their words to express themselves.
And if I may interject, sometimes they're able to listen to those songs, and this opens up these doors, and they begin to reminisce about either an event that occurred that, associated with that song, or a time in their lives like getting married, or maybe even just reminds them of their college years. And, this opens up a really nice dialogue for not only myself as a therapist, but for caregivers and staff members as well. And it helps to build those relationships and maintain those relationships and even strengthen them.
I imagine, and especially for the person maybe with Alzheimer's or maybe even advanced Alzheimer's, who can sometimes be aggressive, even that music therapy would help to calm them and take them to a place where they're better able to relate to their loved ones. Am I imagining this, or?
No, you're right on point. In fact, a lot of recent research that has come out has shown that when clients with Alzheimer's or dementia are listening to their preferred music, there's been a decrease in agitative and combative behaviors, and such as sundowners and things of that nature. And again, it has led to stimulation and a lot of reminiscence.
Dr. Bill Thomas talks about that too, Tula. And you know, we're using that. We implement that portion on our campus at Bartram. We have MP3 players and iPads or iPods that we program elders' musics in, and that we can personalize their playlist.
You know, I think we've probably all seen those videos that Dr. Bill Thomas has put out of, I think it's called Alive Inside, where people with advanced dementia who maybe haven't spoken a word in years, someone like a wonderful music therapist like you, Danielle, comes and starts singing songs to them, but songs that are embedded in their memory banks from years ago. Maybe they haven't heard them in years. They're able to start singing and speaking for the first time ever. I've seen those, and it amazes me, and actually brings me to tears every time.
Yeah, it's quite emotional, and I'm lucky that I have those opportunities to see those breakthroughs on a daily basis, not only at Brooks Bartram Campus, but also on the inpatient level and some of the community settings I serve as well. But I did want to touch upon what you said about Alive Inside. We are starting up what we call our music and memory program, and that is the basis of that Alive Inside film. And we're starting with our long-term nursing side first, distributing iPods to them. And so we've just finished making the playlist, and these are all personalized playlists, which is really extremely important. You can't just throw on any music because that's not going to achieve the desired effect. So we're putting those playlists together and getting ready to distribute them, and eventually distribute them campus wide. So we're starting with a small cohort to begin with, but I'm really excited to see what happens, because you know the music therapist can only be there so long,
right?
And then what happens later in the day?
When you're gone, yeah.
Exactly. So I feel it's really important to continue those therapeutic effects of music in addition to having music therapy. The two combined is really the best of both scenarios.
That's so exciting. You're giving all the residents there at your SNF, your skilled nursing facility, their own iPod loaded with their own music. You've taken the time to find out what that is for every resident there.
Yep.
And give them music that'll be meaningful to them from their life experience.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. And we think that this is going to really help, not only emotionally for the client, but also for the nursing staff as well. It's going to make, changing into pajamas a little easier, going into the shower a little easier, going out to dinner or breakfast a little easier. And in some instances, the research shows that there's been a decrease in medication due to the effects of the music, that less medications are needed to control those agitated behaviors.
That is amazing. It makes sense if you think about it, but kudos to the Brooks system for taking the time, initiative, and spending the money to do that. That's an amazing initiative you guys are doing.
I find we're always ready and willing to invest in innovation and technology and anything to improve the lives of our customers, our patients, and our residents.
That is what it's all about. Yeah. I'm going to put you on the spot again, Danielle. I want some more music.
Oh, boy. Okay. Well, I'd like to do a little role-playing intervention again, if you ladies don't mind.
We're up for it.
You're my victims
today. I tell you what, the producer just said we've got about a minute to go, so why don't we save it for after the break?
Sounds like a plan.
Okay. Is that good with you too, Danielle?
I'm ready.
And maybe you can give us a few hints during the commercial break. Oh, she's not going to do it. She's going to make us respond without any hints. You are listening to Tula's Tips for Caregivers on AM 600 and 94.1 FM, The Answer. We'll be right back for some more music. Stay tuned. Hi, everyone, this is Tula again, and I'm here to tell you about the Agewell Institute at Baptist Health. They're located in the San Marco area. I've been taking my own parents there for about 2 years now. Dr. Lance, the geriatrician on staff, has done remarkable things for both my parents and for me, the caregiver. They have great information, advice, and resources to help me. Dr. Lance and her team of social workers, dietitians, nurses, therapists, and the pharmacist have been so instrumental in helping me keep my own parents independent and living in their own home where they want to be. If you're looking for someone to either supplement the care that your primary physician is giving to your loved one who's 65 or older, or to perhaps become their primary care physician, I really encourage you to call the Agewell Institute at Baptist. Their number is 904-202-4243. Again, that's 904-202-4243.
Have you read the new book, Love Stories and Timeless Tips yet? It's by our own Tula Wooten with Tula's Tips for Caregivers. Tula is a caregiver too, as well as an expert on caregiving. You can get it in paperback or on Kindle at Amazon.com. The book is filled with touching stories of caregivers taking care of their loved ones. Each chapter has helpful ideas that we all can use. I love that Tula included a Tula's tip with each story. Her message to caregivers is clear. Take care of yourself so that you can take care of your loved one. This is a beautiful book for all caregivers to read, whether you're a part-time, full-time, or long-distance caregiver, or someone receiving care. You should get the book today. Just go to Amazon.com. Search for Love Stories and Timeless Tips by Tula Wooten.
George, I got the job. Thanks, I'm so excited. They hired me on the spot right after the interview. It was that book I bought from Amazon, From the Interview to the Paycheck by Fred Haley. The book really taught me something. It helped me to think about what the boss wants. Then it helped me with answers that show that I can do the job. I can tell they were impressed when I introduced myself. I just followed the simple outline from the Interview to the Paycheck book, and I know I won the job with my first 90 days plan the book recommended. They said no one else had ever been so prepared. You should get the book. It's on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle. It's worth it if you want to get hired. Just search for From the Interview to the Paycheck by Fred Haley. Do it now.
Hi, this is Tula with Tula's Tips for Caregivers. I have been fortunate to learn about Apex Home Healthcare Services. They have a Medicare certified division that can help you care for your loved one by providing a nurse to come assist you, a physical therapist, a speech therapist, an occupational therapist, a certified nursing assistant to help you with the personal care for your loved one, and a medical social worker. You know I believe in those. You need to call them and see what it is that may qualify you. They also have a personal care division that you can utilize to bring someone into your home for, say, 4 to 6 hours to give you some relief, give you some respite in caring for your loved one. They are a full-service company that care for your loved ones with compassion and tenderness, as well as professionalism and excellence in care. Please call Apex Home Health Services at 904-425-4202. That's 904-425-4202. Please call them. You'll be glad you did.
And now let's return to Tula's Tips for Caregivers, brought to you in part by Agewell Institute at Baptist Health, by Elmcroft Assisted Living and Memory Care, by Apex Home Healthcare, by the AARP, and by Bartram Lakes Brooks Assisted Living. Once again, here's Tula.
Welcome back, everyone, to Tula's Tips for Caregivers. We're having fun on this second segment of my show. I've got Danielle McGrath and Danielle Porter here with me. And, you know, we've been doing a little bit of music. So, Danielle, you wouldn't give us any hints? Let's just kick it off.
Okay, so I'm going to do an example of an intervention I'd use to target cognition and more specifically memory. So I'm going to sing a song and I'm going to tell you the title, and then all I need you guys to do is just listen to the lyrics, and I'm going to ask you a couple questions after the song's over to see what you were able to retain in your memory. Now, usually with a client, I would have a little bit of a delay, 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes to really tax that memory. But you guys will
We
get
don't
a
have that
reprieve.
much time,
Yeah,
so
you'll get a reprieve
we're lucky
today.
on that one.
All right,
take it.
So here we go. The name of the song is called Old Texas. I'm going to leave old Texas now. They've got no use for the longhorn cow. They've tied and fenced my cattle range, and the people here are really strange. I'll take my horse, I'll take my gun, and hit the trail, making my horse run. Bid adios to the Alamo, then hit the trail for Mexico. There you go.
Very nice, Danielle.
I like that song. I've never heard that before.
I learned that song during my internship with Ann Gervin in Birmingham, Alabama, and I use that song for almost every evaluation to evaluate memory when I'm seeing my clients. So,
okay, so I hope we do a little bit better than her clients, given that we're probably a little bit younger, but I'm not counting on it.
You were taking notes,
yeah,
Tula.
Tula had her pen and paper.
I had my pen and paper. You man, I am busted. All right, let's go.
All right, so if you need a choice for any of these questions, you can say choice, and I'll give you a choice of 3. Okay. Between the two of you, I don't think you're going to need a choice, but you never know.
You never know.
All right, so first question, what was the title of the song?
Old Texas.
Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding.
Very
Old
good.
Texas.
Very good. In the song, there were 2 animals mentioned. Can you name them?
A horse.
Mm-hmm.
And a cow.
Oh, a cow.
What kind of cow?
Longhorn.
Very good.
I missed that. Longhorn
cow. If the client said cow, I would have given it to him.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so next question. The cowboy took something with him for protection. What was that?
A gun.
He sure did. He's a traditional cowboy.
Yep.
And he said the personality of the people in Texas was what?
Strange.
Oh, yeah. He thought they were pretty strange. And he mentioned a National Historic Landmark in the song. What was
the
it?
Alamo?
Yeah, very good. The Alamo. And he was leaving Texas to go to what country?
Mexico.
Very good. That's it. You guys passed 100%.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
I feel smart.
I like it. I like it a lot, and I can see the value, obviously, that it would bring to everyone. You know, music is an important part of everything that you do at Brooks Bartram Lakes, and you've got a special event coming up, Danielle.
Oh, we do. I'm so excited. This has been in the works for many years, and it's come to fruition. We are having a caregiver symphony concert sponsored by Brooks Rehabilitation. So we are honoring our Jacksonville caregivers. We have complimentary tickets. The date of the performance is Sunday, May 22nd, and the symphony is performing Beethoven's Symphony No. 9 at Jacoby Symphony Hall. And we're even doing a pre-show reception.
Wow.
So the reception starts at 1 p.m., and then the concert performance is at 3.
For
and
those people who don't know, where's Jacoby Symphony Hall?
It's in the Times Union Center, down off Water Street. So if they want information, have them email me, Danielle.McGrath@brooksrehab.org, and we'll put it on your site too, Tula, so that they can. The tickets are free, but they do need to reserve them and register. Yes.
And a phone number they can call if people don't want to do it online. I know a lot of people do it online, but some don't.
If they have questions, the best thing is to call Bartram Lakes 904-528-3500.
Okay.
That's 528-3500. And I want to invite your listeners that are coming to the expo, and I hope you all are, because Danielle Porter will be there live at our booth, at the Brooks Rehabilitation booth next Saturday, and she's going to be doing a live music therapy session. So they got a little taste of it today. If they want to learn more, they should stop by.
Please do. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you.
The Caregiver Expo, for those of you who don't know, is next Saturday, May 7th, downtown at the Hyatt. The doors open at 9:30, and we will go till 3 o'clock. For those of you who've been listening all through the show, my guest is going to be Lee Woodruff, who is going to talk about her caregiving story, how she became a caregiver in an instant. She speaks at 11, and then at 1 o'clock, an AARP caregiver specialist and educator, Carolyn Brent, will be speaking. In between times, we're going to have wonderful people like Danielle Porter doing some singing at the Brooks table. We're going to have a room full of massage therapists giving away free massages. Yes, free massages. We're going to have a room full of hairstylists to do your hair at no cost. We're going to have the YMCA doing some Zumba Gold. I've got Monarch Dance Studio that's going to do a dance demonstration at 12:30. Yes, I want those of you who don't know how to come and learn to cha-cha with me. I might even go in there and do a little one with them. We're just going to have a great day.
You forgot the food, Tula.
Oh, well,
lots of food.
I didn't really forget the food. I didn't mention it. We're going to have 10 restaurants sampling some of their favorite foods there. Everybody from Stonewood to Applebee's to Zoe's Kitchen to, I can't even think of all of them right now.
We'll have food at the Brooks table. Morrison is our dining partner, and they will be providing 2 different samples, a morning choice and an afternoon sweet choice.
Love it.
So definitely it's going to be plentiful.
Good stuff happening. Lots of good stuff happening at the Caregiver Expo next Saturday at the Hyatt. Doors open at 9:30. The first 200 people who come are going to get a swag bag filled of goodies. I won't go into what they are, but just know that we've been spending some time getting the right things.
We have
a caller on line 1. Mark, welcome to Tula's Tips.
Thank you. I think I had a music question, but you started talking about food, and I got distracted.
Imagine that.
I was wondering, you're talking about music, and there's a certain type of music that seems to inspire your customers or your people more. I usually like really hard rock music, fast rock, the AC/DC type, but I don't know if that's something that you normally find that's helpful.
Is that therapeutic or agitation producing?
No, for me it's therapeutic. I don't know about anybody else.
It depends on the setting in which I'm practicing music therapy. So if I were at the Brooks Bartram setting, I see my group, they're all within the same age range, and research tells us to use music during their time when they were between the ages of 13 to 25. So I'm targeting music from that era. So right now that's like 30s, 40s, and 50s.
Oh, okay.
But if I'm working individually with a client, like I do a lot of times on an inpatient facility, I will ask them their preferred music and make sure to incorporate that during our sessions. Like, for example, just this morning, a patient was strumming an auto harp, and we were singing I Will Survive. Wow. As he was strumming along, and I was doing the chords for him on the auto harp. So it really just depends.
Mm-hmm. Depends on what the person really knows and loves. This has been a fun show today, ladies. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see what you're going to be doing at the Caregiver Expo and to listen to you, Danielle. Yeah. We're just going to have such a great day. Again, if you've got questions about the Expo, dial 407-6790. You've been listening to Tula's Tips. We're going to broadcast live from the Expo next Saturday downtown at the Hyatt. We'll see you then. Blessings, everyone.
Thanks, Tula.
Thank you.